Okay, this is a continuation of solving using the by factoring. Um, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try factor by grouping because there's four terms. And notice when I do this, there's nothing, 17 is a prime number, there's nothing that I can factor out of here. And this doesn't start with a 17, so I automatically know that that's not going to work. No matter how I rearrange this, because this is the only 17, it's not going to work factor by grouping. So I'm going to use the possible zeros, which again is all of the factors, all the possible rational zeros, sorry, which is all the factors of this divided by all the factors of this. So it's going to be plus or minus 8, plus or minus 4, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 1. And these are all going to be divided by, luckily this only has one factor, which is 1. So that makes it a little bit easier. So I'm not even going to put these over 1. You saw me do that in the last video. So I like to start with the smallest ones. Notice that it goes 3, 2, 1, 0. So there's no blanks in here. There's no zeros I have to insert. I like to start with the smallest one, so I'm going to start with 1. Remember, the first term always comes down. So the 1 comes down and I multiply. I add them together and I multiply. Whoops. Multiply correctly. I add them together and I multiply. I add them together. So I have a remainder, so this one didn't work. So I'm going to cancel it out. And I'm going to try negative. Bring down the 1, multiply. Add them together, multiply. Add them together, multiply, and that gives me no remainder. So negative 1 is one of the factors. Now I tried all of those. I'm going to see if I can factor using quadratic. Now that it's a quadratic equation, I'll probably just use the quadratic. I mean, if you can see the factors, which I can see them on this one, it's going to be 1 and 8, but I'm going to use the quadratic. So negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c divided by 2 times a. Simplify. Negative 9 plus or minus 81 minus 32 divided by, wait, is that right? Yeah, 32 divided by 2. Negative 9 plus or minus square root that can't be right. Oh, okay, 49. That makes sense. I was just kidding. I just forgot how to subtract for a second. Negative 9 plus or minus 7 over 2. Negative 9 plus 7 is negative 2 over 2. Negative 9 minus 7 is negative 16 over 2. So my other two zeros are negative 1 and negative 8. So these are my three zeros. So if you remember on the other video I was saying you can have repeats. Well, on this one I have repeats. And I'm just going to list them all out. You don't have to do this unless it's asking you for all of the roots. So sometimes it'll ask you for the repeats or the multiplicity. So this has negative 1 at a multiplicity of 2. So sometimes we'll do that. I like to list them all out just because it makes it more simple when you're trying to go backwards and rewrite the equation. And that's it. That's all I wanted to show you in this.